Wait, is this a positive PlayStation video? Am I about to talk about the insane sale numbers that Sony's PS5 has seen since they launched the console back in November 12th? Yep, you're about to see a pretty positive video regarding the PlayStation 5 because, to be honest, they deserve it. They've launched a console and just might have matched the amount of consoles sold that they had with the PS4. To me, that's insane because we already know the dominant generation that the PlayStation 4 had. It was one of the top-selling consoles in history, and it continues to be a massive success. So when the PS5 was announced, there was a lot of hype behind it, but also a lot of expectations that gamers and higher-ups at Sony expected to meet. And if you look at history, the one thing that's hard to do is have sustained success, especially when you have one of the most dominant generations gaming has ever seen. Yet somehow it would seem that Sony's PlayStation brand is very strong on a global scale, and they're continuing to be one of the most profitable gaming companies around. And of course, Sony reports their numbers right after Xbox has a report on their quarter, which shows they're having one of the best years in Xbox's history, to which they have sold the most Xbox consoles in their history for a launch, that is. Basically, what's happening right now is gaming is at an all-time high, and both Xbox and Sony are reaping the benefits. And it's not just because gaming is growing like crazy, but it's because both companies made solid consoles that feel like huge upgrades when it comes to generations. They both built powerhouse consoles that people see the value in owning. The games might be coming a little bit hot at times, but that doesn't mean the consoles aren't future-proof, and we aren't going to be getting amazing experiences on them in the near future, which is something that Sony seems ready to provide to so many gamers for years to come. So let's get into this article and into the financial reports that really does show that Sony is doing just fine at the start of this next generation for consoles. But first, like always, if you like the video, hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support is greatly appreciated. So the title of this article can be a little misleading because it does make it sound like Sony is selling the console at a loss and it's a bad thing. But as you continue to read into the article, you can see that it's something that Sony always planned for. Here's what the title starts off by saying. Sony is selling the PS5 at a loss, investors told. Strategic price point on new console is lower than manufacturing costs. So when you read that, of course you would think this is a bad thing for the company, but in reality it's something that's common practice. We know for a fact the power in the PS5 and the power in the Xbox Series X consoles are far more expensive than the price point they have it being sold for. But in truth, that's a way for people to join the ecosystem. It's a business strategy that's worked for years and years. Because we all know that companies don't make money off of a console sale. They make their real money from the games and software you buy on their ecosystem. They make so much money off of the software that when Xbox first launched, there was a discussion at Microsoft that they would give the consoles away just so they can have people on their ecosystem. This was back in the early 2000s when Xbox was trying to get their footing in the gaming market. Obviously, that didn't happen, but it's an example of why console production cost isn't that big of a problem if Sony sells them at a loss. It's so they can be competitive in price, which is something that helped them sell a ton of consoles last generation with the PS4, which the article starts off by saying here. Sony shipped more than 4.5 million PlayStation 5s from the console's November 12th launch to the end of the year, but it took a loss on those sales because the PS5's strategic price point is lower than what it costs to manufacture it. The disclosure was part of Sony's quarterly report to investors, delivered in Japan earlier today. The losses on PS5 sales were not specifically broken out, and they were part of an overall game and network services segment that saw a 26.7 billion yen, $2.5 billion increase in operating income over the same quarter in 2019. That's 4.5 million PlayStation 5s to be shipped in the span of a couple of months after its release. Now, we do have to be mindful that this is 4.5 million shipped, not sold, which there's a huge difference in. But from what we've seen with the demand of these next generation consoles, I wouldn't be surprised if they were going to sell very quickly. And that strategic price point Sony mentions is a huge reason why it's happening. If you remember back last year during the summer, both Sony and Microsoft were very stubborn on revealing the price of their consoles. It's because neither of them wanted to divulge the price of their consoles before the other one did, just so they can have the strategic advantage when it comes to the price of their console. And of course, both companies want that on their side. They remember during the Xbox One and PS4 era where the PS4 was cheaper and obviously held the right price point. But now with both the Series X and the PS5 being the same price, competition is going to be a little bit closer and probably tougher for Sony, especially since the Series X has the clear power advantage over the PS5. Yet for the launch of a console, that's not as important as some would assume. Usually what matters the most during the launch of a console is the amount of consoles that can be built, because I have a feeling that whoever can make the most consoles will truly have the most sales, which so far it looks like Sony has. Here's what the article continues to say when it talks about this. Sony's PlayStation revenue from game sales, both PS4 and PS5, add-on content included, plus larger profit margins on the ongoing PlayStation 4 more than made up any shortfall, the company said. By comparison, the PlayStation 4 sold more than 4.2 million units from November 2013 launch to the end of that year. The company in November said the new PlayStation 5 is facing unprecedented demand, making its availability scarce. Even though more PS5s have been available in whole numbers than its predecessor, Microsoft's Xbox Series X has faced the same issue, with the company's chief financial officer telling investors back in November that a console shortage could last until April. Now, if you saw my video on the Xbox sales and how Microsoft is having one of their best years ever in the gaming market, you know that I've talked about the shortage of stock that next generation consoles are having. And it would seem that PS5 is having that same problem, and considering the massive demand for both next generation consoles, it's pretty obvious to see the shortage is happening. Yet, even with that shortage, Sony is really trying to crank out as many systems as they can so they can meet the high demand that gamers have. And I'm sure Xbox is doing the same exact thing as we speak. Both companies are trying to meet demand, yet I have a feeling that since Sony started earlier than Xbox, they have more consoles out there ready to go. It's why the PS5 has 4.5 million units shipped, which is crazy to me, because the PlayStation 4 sold more than 4.2 million units from November 2013 launch to the end of that year. Think about that for a second. The PS5 is almost matching its predecessor in units sold, even with the shortage in stock. In fact, it might be actually outperforming the PS4. That's insane to see, because we all know the PS4 had so many advantages when it comes to selling consoles versus the Xbox One. They had the price, power, and honestly, global brand recognition. Yet now with shortages, Sony is finding a way to get as many units out there to meet the demand of the gamers. Now, like the article states, we know that Xbox is selling out in consoles as well. If I had to guess, I would say they're about 1 million less than Sony. I'm not saying that's the number, and I'm not saying I know anything, but from what I've seen and heard from Xbox and how they started manufacturing these consoles in late August of last year, I would assume they don't have as many units as Sony does. Because Sony did start making these consoles way before Xbox, because they didn't wait for full RDNA 2 features that the Xbox Series X has. So now during this launch window, and what I would assume the next 6 months, Sony will have a clear advantage with the PS5 in sales. And it's something that Sony thinks will happen, which the article points out here. Elsewhere in Sony's financial report, the company increased its forecast sales and operating income for the PlayStation division over the fiscal year ending in March. Sony now expects another 30 billion yen, $285 million, in sales in its game and network services segment, and an additional 40 billion yen, $380 million, in operating income for the year. Sony also reported a PlayStation Plus subscriber base of 47.4 million users, with 114 million monthly active users of the service as of the end of year. Again, you can see right here that Sony has been on a tear when it comes to profits and PlayStation's growth. It would honestly seem that the only company that didn't strive in this gaming growth the last year is Google Stadia, which of course was going to happen when you don't have any reason for people to go on your service. Xbox has the most powerful console, a great network, and of course, the best service in gaming with Xbox Game Pass. Sony has a great piece of hardware, brand recognition, and of course some of the best first-party exclusives around. Every company has its strengths and weaknesses, but at the end of the day, gaming is truly at an all-time high in profits, growth, popularity, and of course, investment. So many companies around the world are seeing gaming as a main source of revenue, and because of that, studios, publishers, and developers are going to be in high demand. Because Sony, Microsoft, Amazon, Tencent, and every other third-party publisher is going to want to capitalize on the dramatic growth of the gaming market. It's great to see Sony take advantage of that growth and continue to provide us gamers great experiences. To me right now, Xbox, Sony, and Ubisoft have been giving me some of the best gaming experiences I've had in quite a while. I'm glad that all of them are making great profits so they can continue to do so, because I love those three companies. I love that they're bringing a lot of stuff onto the market, and I love the games that they brought out. I mean, Xbox and Sony really are trying to bring out some first-party games this year. I know the launch window of games wasn't that great on both sides, but Ubisoft really filled that gap for me. I really enjoyed Phoenix Rising, I really enjoyed Watch Dogs Legion, and I'm going to be jumping into Assassin's Creed Valhalla. That's three massive AAA open-world games that Ubisoft provided that had next-generation patches. Talk about a great company that provides great stuff on both Sony and Xbox. As you can see, Sony and Xbox have a lot of games coming to them, and these consoles for next generation are going to have plenty games for us to play with. But enough of what I think about all of this. Tell me what you think about all of this. Are you surprised by the success of the PS5? How many units do you think Sony will sell by the end of the year? Will they match or exceed the PS4 sales? Will Xbox's Series X console keep up with the PS5 sales? Will all this profit in gaming go into new games and studios? What company is taking advantage of the growing game market right now? Have you gotten a PS5 yet, or have you gotten an Xbox Series X? Go down below and let me know. And I hope you enjoyed the video, and if you did, please hit that subscribe button and that like button. The support helps out the channel more than you know. And give me a follow on Twitter at Zalker87. I'm always on there talking games and sharing my latest videos. Plus, I love interacting with everyone there, so get on Twitter and let's talk about gaming. Also, follow me on Xbox Live. My gamertag is Zalker87, just like my channel name. See what games I'm playing, and let's compete in achievements for the month. Right now, I just got all the achievements for zombies on Call of Duty Black Ops. That game is so much fun. The zombies is awesome, and I know the new zombie map is coming out, I think this week. So I'm going to be jumping in on that, and I want to see what the new map is and all the new little secrets they have in there. So I'll be playing that a bunch. I also finished the campaign on there on the hardest difficulty because that's just what I do. And the next game I'm probably going to jump into is finish the Telltale games for Batman. And then from there, I'm probably going to go to Assassin's Creed Valhalla. I'm really enjoying the Assassin's Creed game. I was kind of going away from single-player games because I was getting kind of fed up with them. So I was playing different games, and I needed something to shake it up in my gaming world. So yeah, I'm going to go back into Valhalla and play that and try to finish it, because right now there's not that many games to play because I've played all the other ones. But let me know what you're playing down below. I want to know if you're playing on your PS5, your Xbox Series X, and what games are you playing? Are you on your PC playing Cyberpunk? Just let me know down below, because that's what we're here for, is to talk gaming. And that's all for now. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember, enjoy your gaming. Later.